Hi, this is Scott Garibay, and today we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and we're going to talk about Dungeons & Dragons marketing team. All right, so I'm all over Call of Netherdeep right now. I'm carrying around the Netherdeep book everywhere I go, around my house, when I go out, everywhere. And I have all these sticky notes in the covers, right? And I'm just reading, and I've never done this before. It's kind of new. I've been reading in Call of Netherdeep and just writing notes as I read. And it's a treasure trove, right? Because hey, here's the latest adventure, but it's also, this is what's happening with Dungeons and Dragons now. And every book that we get, right? If you're just a normal Dungeons and Dragons player, or Dungeons and Dragons Dungeon Master, and I don't think any of those people are watching my channel. Like, if you watch my channel, you got to be deep down the rabbit hole on Dungeons and Dragons, right? Like, there's no casuals here. That I'm certain of that, right? And so basically, every book that comes out now is every Dungeons and Dragons official red ampersand real deal book, not some like nonsense Taladore put out by Darlington Press, like something that doesn't matter, that cuddles up next to D&D and isn't D&D, right? But like real D&D books, right? You know what they are, right? You see them on the shelves. They are iconically recognizable, right? Because they are Dungeons and Dragons, and that's the thing. Like the orange spine Easleys, the red banner Amazon covers for Dungeons and Dragons, right? And I know everybody's like, it's not the Amazon cover, it's just the non FLGS cover. It's the Amazon cover. That's who's booking. Like, they're selling more books than everybody combined. I'm very, very convinced of that. That's just my opinion, but let's just call it what it is. It's the Amazon cover, right? So, and then there's the FLGS cover, right? So, Call of Netherdeep, there's this huge thing sitting right on the credits page, right? And so every D&D book comes out is the next Dungeons & Dragons book, and regular muggle DMs who just play the game and aren't really involved in the meta of Dungeons & Dragons, aren't involved in understanding Gary Gygax's legacy, aren't involved in understanding the history of Dungeons & Dragons itself. They don't see the books for what they are. But every book is a stamp saying this is Dungeons & Dragons in this moment, right? And in this moment, with Call of Netherdeep, Dungeons & Dragons, the creation of Dungeons & Dragons, they're saying, listen, like, it's really incredible what's happening at Wizards of the Coast. They're saying, listen, nobody in tabletop role-playing games makes a dime. This is like, everyone who works here is poor, right? Like, relatively. Like, there's not a single person on the planet who owns a yacht and ever designed a tabletop role-playing game, right? Like, the world does not reward careers in tabletop role-playing games. They make dirt, right? So one of the things that Dungeons & Dragons is saying, yeah, but you're going to go down in history. And I know it. Like, I know Jonathan Tweet's name, right? Like, when you die, you could be forgotten. Scott Garibay knows the name of every single D&D design lead, right? And there's thousands of guys like me and ladies like me, right? And so that's the issue, is like, you ain't going to make no money, but you're going to die with fame and with celebrity, a micro celebrity, but people will know your name if you worked on D&D, right? And that's actually how Dungeons & Dragons is being paid. And guess what? There are a lot of people who care more about getting their name in a Dungeons & Dragons game than they do money. Flat out. That's a fact now, right? And so one of the things that I want to talk about today is this marketing team, right? So right on the credits page in Call of Netherdeep, there's an entire section that says Dungeons & Dragons has a marketing team. Here is every single one of their roles, and here's every single one of their names, right? And there are 3 people on that team. 3, right? One of them is a global brand director. The next is a brand manager, and then there is a community manager. Now, why does this matter, right? Well, I keep telling you, forget every scrub game on this planet, get on D&D, and do not get off of it. It needs to be your primary game. It needs to be your 51% game. And Dungeons & Dragons is not like any tabletop role-playing game on the planet. I get tons of pushback for this, but the reason why I'm talking about it is I'm not wrong. There's evidence of it, right? There's just strong, shockingly clear evidence of it. And this is part of that evidence. Very real part of that evidence, right? So let's talk about that evidence. Let's talk about what this thing is, right? So you got a global brand director, and they're saying the brand for Dungeons & Dragons is global. OSC don't have a global brand director, right? Their marketing is one task that is assigned to the same person that wrote the game, most likely, right? No other game, no other tabletop role-playing game in the world has scale the way Dungeons and Dragons is. They have 3 people dedicated just to the marketing of the game. And you know what they just did? They said these people are incredibly important. Their name deserves to be in the book, right? Because we honor them and they have value and they make us different than every other tabletop role-playing game in the world, because no other tabletop role-playing in the world has this kind of scale, right? And no other, tabletop role-playing game in the world is dealing with multi-billion-dollar possible movie rights. Like this Dungeons and Dragons is not like other games. Its scale is magnificent. Its brand manager, like one person who just deals with the brand stuff, one person who deals with the brand as a global entity, one person who deals with community manager. And because these people are there and this team exists and its equivalent doesn't exist on any other tabletop role-playing game in the world, right? It means that Dungeons and Dragons is playing at a level that is not matched. This is, and one of the reasons why I say this is I dedicate an absolutely massive amount of time to talking about the minutia of Dungeons and Dragons. And a lot of people think that's a waste of time. And what I'm telling you is no, it's not. D&D is Marvel in the 80s. Marvel in the 80s was about to go bankrupt. Everybody thought it was just a stupid comic company. Everybody thought what they were dealing with was stupid and worthless, right? That's where D&D is now, right? And the reality is Marvel was a multi-billion-dollar global juggernaut IP. And that's where D&D is heading, right? And there are a few of us who see its history and see its future, right? And part of that is recognizing that Dungeons and Dragons marketing team listed on the credits page, right, of Call to Netherdeep is unprecedented and unparalleled by any other tabletop role-playing game in the world. And when you say that your little ridiculous copy game is equal to D&D, it's not. And I'm putting up evidence to show you you're wrong, right? Copy games don't matter. D&D matters. It's not just a game. It is thousands of people's jobs, potentially. It is global scale. It is setting the bar for the entire industry, and it has no direct competitor. It competes only with the entirety of the market and usually beats it. That's my point. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments below. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a wonderful millennium.